lot going on today, bro.
Well, yeah.
There's a lot happening. You got to get your face in your microphone, by the way.
I got to eat the mic.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a lot of stuff happening. I think more stuff than a lot of people even realize is happening. By the way, that has been the story of the Trump administration. That there is more going on than we know what to keep up with. There's a lot happening. The Middle East is popping off. We are going to talk about Israel, specifically as Israel relates to Iran. We are going to talk about Iraq. By the way, did you happen to see the Pat Bet-David interview of the founder of the IRGC?
No, I did not.
That was a remarkable interview, by the way. That lasted about 2.5 hours. And let me just simply say that good old Mohsen is a nice little liar. That's all. I'm sorry, but there was a lot of dishonesty in that. But we'll talk about some of the implications of the issues that were discussed. We are going to also have a very important conversation about what's happening in Egypt. I know that's something that you've been wanting to talk about.
We need to go into Egypt, and I need an Egyptian specialist in order to deal with what's going on there.
I'm not so sure. We'll have a conversation about that. And then there's a lot of other things. There's a lot of other loose ends we've got to tie that are also very important. So I don't know where we want to start, but let me just do this before we do start.
No, I do have a label, okay, and I think this is.
What's your label?
Excuse me, 500 days. James, 500 days.
Today's the 500
Yesterday
day?
was 500 days.
Oh, yesterday was 500 days.
Yesterday was 500 days of everything that we've been talking about. And I need people to remember that because there's a feeling that the subjects are getting off the table. The feeling that, Taylor Swift and Kelsey have become more important than what's going on in Israel.
Taylor Swift isn't so important anymore.
Well, yeah. I mean,
they're shoving that devil away.
She's been swifted off.
Well, she's literally a Satan worshiper.
I did not know that.
I mean, bro, not to mention the fact that I lost all, which I didn't really have. I can't respect people that I don't know. So I never really respected Taylor Swift in the sense that I don't know her. I don't know anything that she stands for. But to say that her whole reason for supporting Tampon Tim, when I talk about that, I'm talking about Kamala's running mate.
Yeah.
Okay. Her whole reason for supporting Kamala Harris to become president of the United States was Tim's policy regarding imprisoning parents that actually do not allow their children to be mutilated at a young age.
I remember that.
So when I look at someone like her, I just think she's a devil worshiper.
Well,
she's an evil lady.
Well, she was part of the whole dynamic of the Hollywood / fame and role models that actually lined up to support Kamala Harris and lie about what Biden was going to.
I think they were all paid to do that.
Well, yeah, we're finding out that Oprah was paid. A lot of them. Though, did you see the whole video that came out with all the Jews pointing a finger? Did you see that one?
No.
Okay, there was a video that came out with all the famous Jews, including Scarlett Johansson and Ben Stiller, who were pointing a finger at what's his name with the naked lady?
Kanye?
Kanye. Okay.
Kanye's an absolute nut job. What a cuckoo.
So here's the thing.
Him and Candace Owens are buddies, by the way. You know that, right?
No, I did not.
Oh, yeah, they've been buddies for a while.
Well, then why am I not surprised that the only merch on his website is a swastika T-shirt?
Yeah, I mean, he's the guy. The guy is just evil.
But here's the thing. The video came out with all of these famous Jews pointing a finger at Kanye, okay? And I said to myself, wait a minute. Ben Stiller is not pro-Israel.
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson was, iffy, but there were a lot of, it turns out it's all AI.
Was it really?
It was really, and it looked so real. It totally looked so real. And so I mean, I think we're entering into a new stage where I think we've been talking on the show about the truth and the war on truth.
Right?
The war on truth is now become more complicated.
Yep.
Totally more complicated. So,
boy, that's a conversation in and of itself.
Yeah.
Grok 3 has come out, which is Elon's AI.
okay.
I haven't looked at it extensively yet, but I can tell you this right now. It is probably going to be more powerful than anything we've ever seen.
Than the
Way more
Deep
powerful
Sea?
than ChatGPT, anything like that.
And more powerful than the deep sea?
Yeah.
What's it called? Deep sea?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, the Chinese AI that came out.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah. Listen, the Chinese AI is not what they say it is. It's something they've been probably working on for a very, 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 very long time, and they're just not talking about it. And it probably costs them a whole lot more. And there's a lot of lying going on there.
Well, as long as they didn't make it in Wuhan, then we should be okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's do this really quickly so that we can get started. We do have some super chats that came in. Let's just go over those really quickly. Brad Brunn, you say Margaret Brennan compared
Careful.
JD Vance's speech? Maybe he meant it. Maybe it's a typo. Yeah. He's a typo. I think he meant JD Vance's speech in Germany to Nazism. These Nazi comparisons are going over well as my swimsuit calendar. Well, it's just ridiculous because I think that the Nazi comparisons are being done on purpose because there is a worldwide effort right now to minimize the Holocaust. And the best way to minimize the Holocaust is to keep saying Nazi, 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 Nazi.
Do you not think that's like a knee-jerk kind of reaction? I mean, the word Nazi is the new boogeyman.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
okay,
ridiculous.
yeah,
It's ridiculous.
You're going to be late for the show. You're a boogeyman.
JD's speech, by the way, was fantastic.
We need to talk about what JD has done, what JD did in Europe, what Trump is doing in Europe, and the whole Europe dynamic.
Yeah, JD's speech was like something to be. It definitely was historic. We've never seen vice presidents get aggressive like that before.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Oh yeah, so that was interesting.
Okay.
And then Brad goes on to say, this USAID Iraqi Sesame Street thing bothers me. I mean, Cookie Monster, who steals cookies in a country with Sharia law? At least we didn't have to pay for that puppet to have hands.
Wait a minute.
That's hilarious.
Somebody got caught with his hand in the cookie jar?
Well, so you wouldn't understand the reference that he's making here.
Well, I know who the Cookie Monster is.
Yeah. So, but I think the reference is obviously in Sharia law. You get your hands cut off when you steal something. So he's just being funny with the Sesame Street character.
All right.
See, Brad, see what you're doing? Okay, and then Brad says, my apologies. The last one probably got you demonetized. Hopefully this helps. All right. And then Pookie, let me just read a few of yours. You say, James, the next you can't make this up with you and Tommy. A banger. Also, I didn't know I have another one coming up with Tommy. Did he book me for another one? I don't know. I have to go look at that. Also, David Tall enjoyed Melnick and Schwartz, 3 Jews. Opinions, do more. Hey, you want to tell everybody about that thing that you're doing right now? How about you do that really quickly?
Let's do that quick. If you go to the Balagan Connection, we've started up a new dynamic that basically it's me sitting down with Olivia Melnick and Rob Schwartz, which, if you understand from the names, we're all 3 of us very, very Jewish. I'm from Israel. Olivia is originally from Paris, and Rob grew up in New York. So we have the Jewishness in common, but we have very different backgrounds. And the idea is to sit down and have Jewish conversations where we kind of kick each other all over the place and laugh at each other all the time. And if you want to do that, hit the Balagan Connection, because we're talking about how all of this looks like from the point of view of a Jew.
Yeah, pretty cool. And I haven't watched it yet, but I think that'll be interesting. Okay, Diggy. This is Pookie. He says, James, pray for Riverside Sheriff Chad Bianco, running for CA governor. My brother and nephew, also sheriff. Yeah, that's interesting, man. There's a lot of that, and there's a lot happening for these guys that are all running. There's another guy putting his name in the hat right now, who's also a police officer, ex-police officer. He might still be a current police officer, who's another really, really good guy. Ryan, he actually loves the Lord. That should be an interesting. This race for governor is going to be unique. There's a lot of different people running that are good people in California.
So I was talking to somebody yesterday we're having this conversation. My feeling that since I am here, I need to serve, and I need to serve the community. And my question is, can we be a part of the political, and how can we be a part of the political system here?
Well, we are. What we're doing is being part of the political
get you.
system. It's probably a bigger part of the political system than actually getting elected and doing something.
Well,
We move things around more effectively than a lot of these guys do when they run for office. In many cases, I mean that's not true all the time, but there's certainly that. And then Pookie, you also say JD was brilliant. Also, Marco Rubio putting CBS down.
I'm enjoying that.
On her place regarding freedom in Israel. I didn't even get to see Marco Rubio's response regarding that.
I haven't seen
them
them all, but I'm just I just saw Marco the other day on something, and the guy is sharp.
Well, David, if you or Dale, if you can find that CBS video that Pookie's referring to and throw it in the RIP videos, that would be great. And maybe we'll play it and react to it live. Let me finish reading all the rest of these. Myra, thank you. This is your first time, I think, doing a super chat. Thank you for that. Dean, you are saying, you're talking to Brad. You say, I got 3 copies of your, gosh, dog. If you knew what these guys look like, and you hear this talk about,
then I would be throwing up here on the table.
Put it this way, I'm the least attractive one in that group. I'm telling you that right now, but that doesn't say much. I'm just going to say that right now. But Brad, I got 3 copies of your swimsuit calendar. One for me, one for Dale, and oh my goodness. And look what he says, and one for that sexy former tank commander, David Tall. I kind of felt dirty reading that.
Yeah, I need one with a tank top.
I feel very dirty reading that. Like I just feel like I have to clean my mouth out and my ears.
Christy, I hope you're not listening.
This is nonsense. Can you tell my daughter Elisa has to go to bed? Oh my goodness,
Well,
that's right, because Barjan is in the
currency.
Netherlands, I believe.
Well, the currency is, what is that, euro?
It's euro, but he's in the Netherlands.
Well,
he's a brilliant guy.
Well, here's a question.
Super smart guy. He's been with us for a long time.
Here's my question, though.
Huh?
Why not pay your daughter the €2 to go to bed?
The day that I have to pay my daughter to obey me, that's a bad day.
But well, maybe. I mean, again, I don't know who put this up, and I don't know anything about that. I don't want to be, but we're seeing more and more, including what I'm seeing sometimes in shopping malls. You know, they're just interacting with people. How people talk to their kids is still completely. It's always a negotiation. It's always
there's no negotiation here.
No, I'm seeing our culture has decided that dynamic with kids needs to be soft and negotiated.
I don't care what anybody thinks when they see me around my children, but if my children, I ask my children to do something, they're going to listen the first time. And if not, they're going to understand what male leadership looks like.
Okay, so
it's no, now.
So I'm
kind of like when I tell you to do something. No, I'm joking.
Almost,
That's not nice. That's not funny.
We'll see.
He could probably beat me up. If I did that, he'd probably be able to beat me up. I'm just saying.
We don't want to check that right now. Okay?
No, we don't want to check that.
But
have mercy on me.
Here's the thing. What I'm trying to get to is this. If you teach a child from zero that it's all about him, it's all appeasement, it's all about how he feels, that you cannot tell him no. You cannot tell him, I was talking to a police officer the other day, and she says, you can't even make somebody get out of the car lawfully. I mean, he's, no, They say no, and you can't.
Well, that police officer needs to get an education then, because you can lawfully make somebody get out
Well,
of a car.
the thing is this, and it was very clear. You can do it lawfully, but it has become more and more of an issue. People don't agree or don't accept lawful commands.
Get a complaint filed or something, and that's what they
and it's becoming. So here's the thing: we're raising a generation where you can't tell them no, you can't this. You have to redirect them. Why am I not surprised that when these people reach the top of the pyramid, they believe that the way to deal with problems, including international problems, is by redirection and not by saying no. And I think to a certain extent, what we're seeing Donald Trump do is he's going back to, okay, I'm going to say no, I'm going to say yes, and I'm not going to redirect and everything. And again, it's interesting to see this, but the next generation is going to be worse than this one is.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No. Listen, we're already seeing it, and it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. It's getting really, really bad. LR, you say this: Elon Musk was at a World Government Summit. Say the U.S. put their nose in other countries' business too much. Rude. You know, LR,
Who said that?
Elon. I know the World Summit that Elon was speaking at. That LR is referring to, and I'm not so sure that. I'm not so sure that I disagree with what Elon was saying there. Did you? I am kind of curious to know. By the way, thank you. By the way, for your support, LR. I'm curious to know if you heard that whole speech, what he said, because I think that it was definitely appropriate. But speaking of Elon and rude, I will tell you, as much as I love and I'm grateful for what Elon Musk has been doing for our country, I did not like his kid cutting it up in the Oval Office. In that meeting, that press meeting,
all I saw was him on the shoulders of his dad.
Yeah. Oh no, it was more than that.
Okay.
He actually at one point he leaned over, and it doesn't look like he was saying it to Trump, but he leaned over to maybe a reporter or an aide or something like that, and basically said, "Shut your effing mouth." And the kid is like 4 years old, and my thinking about that is, I don't give a dang if you're a trillionaire. You don't walk into the Oval Office and allow your child to disrespect the office like that.
Yeah,
like that,
I mean,
I'm sorry, I have a hard time with that.
I agree.
Now, if it was the president's son that was a little boy that was running around, maybe, and I'm trying to be as respectful as I can, because I do appreciate and I'm grateful for Elon Musk doing what he's doing.
I'm not sure if that's better than another president's daughter getting a $10 million donation from the American government. I'm talking about Chelsea.
Yep.
Chelsea Clinton.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I'm not sure what's worse, but let's leave that. But I do want to step into, I think, what we've been kind of twirling around with Elon, with Trump, and that is the way that the Trump administration is dealing with the rest of the world.
Yep. Let me do this really quickly, just real quickly. I think it's Marsha, and I probably should never do this, like Marsha Tom. The comment you made about like the goofy faces and my voice is high and blah 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 blah. Are you referring to me? I just want to make sure you're referring to me. You have a license to respond, because I'm gonna have a little fun with you.
Are you?
But anyway,
wait a minute. Is it different if she's referring to you or to me?
There's no way she's referring to you. There's no way.
Well, I can make a mind.
Yeah,
but okay.
there's no way. Be nice to each other, everybody. Okay? You're in the chat. Be nice to each other.
Balagan in the chat?
I don't even know why I pay attention to it.
Okay. Don't make a balagan. Children, don't make a balagan.
Are you talking to me? Be nice. All right. Go back to what you were saying. I threw you off.
1945.
Uh-huh.
The United States has just now saved the world for the second time and is basically taking on policing the world on its shoulders. There was power match, I'm going to say, for lack of a better word, between the United States and the Soviet Union for a while. The Soviet Union lost that power match. And at the end of this, the United States has been the policeman of the world for the last, I'm going to say, 70 years on the whole. And whether I think this even started off before Trump's last administration, but even this, what the United States of America has been doing slowly, slowly is pulling back. On all the different levels and all the different arenas, it's been pulling back and saying, we don't want to carry you guys on our back anymore. You have a problem with in Europe with Russia? Deal with it. You have a problem here? Deal with it. You have a problem there? Deal with it. We're not going to police the seas. We're not going to police the world, and because we're paying for it, we can decide what we want to invest our energies in, and we're going to invest our energies not on the goodness of the world or not what we think is good for the world, but we will invest what we want in what will make America great again. And I think the world has freaked out. Everyone from Canada to the Europeans are freaked out. The Europeans are freaked out. And the JD Vance, how do you say, basically said to them, okay, if you want us to continue to be the policeman and the big daddy and the big brother that keeps keeps the bullies off your back, you're going to have to pay for it.
Yeah, I agree.
And they're all freaked out about it.
And that is the Trump philosophy, and a lot of people don't like that philosophy. I do want to stop to make one comment that I probably should have made at the beginning, and I don't want too much time to go by because I don't want to forget. Like, I think that's really important. I don't want to forget
Somebody
at
nice?
all. Many of you may have heard this name before. Some of you didn't. You certainly heard the first name, Alice. Some of you may have never heard her last name. We have a dear woman that went to our church. Her name was Alice Cooter. Let me just say something about her. I believe at the time that she started going to our church many years ago, she was already in her 90s.
Have I met her?
You have met her. Yeah. Late 80s, early 90s. And when she first started coming, she started coming during the time of the pandemic nonsense was going on. Their church would not allow anybody to meet in their church. And her husband, who, of course, at the time, I think they're in their late 80s, early 90s, started coming to our church and made it very clear that they didn't care about their own health. They'd rather go to church and die than not go to church and nothing happen, which was a very sweet thing to hear them say. Huh. Probably some of the boldest, strongest people that I had ever met in my life. And tragedy hit Alice when, of course, her amazing husband, Don, passed away. It was a very, very tragic situation. He died of cancer, and he was a very wonderful man. He was wonderful. I remember doing his memorial service. Really, really sweet man, strong, smart, just very gentle, quiet man. And so that was a few years back, and Alice almost immediately after the time that her husband died of cancer, got a diagnosis from a doctor that said she had cancer, and they basically told her that she maybe had a few months to live. So she basically said, I'll live as long as God wants me to live, and went ahead and lived a lot longer than that. As a matter of fact, every week she would come in, even as she was getting extraordinarily fragile. She would come into the studio here on Tuesdays, and she would sit on the couch in the media center, and she would pray for our live broadcast, David. And she did it faithfully every week. And no matter how painful it was for her, no matter how difficult it was, no matter how hard it was, she came in here and she faithfully prayed. And in the times where she couldn't, over the last several weeks where she was so bedridden and getting so weak, she still prayed for us during this time. She was a pretty extraordinary lady. Well, we found out yesterday that she went to go be with the Lord. Obviously, she heard the words, well done, good and faithful servant. But I didn't think it would be a good idea for us to have this broadcast and not mention her, because I think Alice Cooter was an extraordinary woman, and I wanted to just say something about that. I wanted to say how much she meant to us here at Calvary Chapel Signal Hill, how much she meant to us in our live broadcasts. And you guys don't realize it, but she meant a whole lot to you without you even knowing it, because you're the beneficiaries of the ministry that she had when she constantly sat here to pray for not just you guys, but to pray for us, for God to give us wisdom. So she's going to be very missed. I am not looking forward to doing her memorial service because I'll be crying all day.
So cry.
She was a special lady.
So
She was
cry.
a very special lady.
Why not cry? I mean,
I don't know. Don't get me going because you're going to get me emotional. I don't want to do that before we have this conversation. But I did want to say thank you, and I also wanted to say that very much this show is absolutely dedicated to her. She was a very special woman.
so I met Alice, I think, a couple of times here when I came in to do this show, and we tend to forget. And again, me included, we are people of the noise, and definitely the both of us, and we sometimes forget that the people of the quiet sometimes are more important. And
Yeah.
maybe
And Alice was very much a picture of that. She was one of the strongest women that I knew. She had a powerful voice. God heard her voice when she spoke. She was remarkable. So she's definitely one that I'm going to miss.
Yehi
immensely.
zichra baruch.
Yeah,
Let her memory be
Yeah.
blessed.
that's right. That is such, by the way, a beautiful phrase in Hebrew.
Mhm.
You know, it's just beautiful. It doesn't translate well into English in the sense that the English translation of that doesn't really bring the beauty of that statement. You know?
Well, we actually have two phrases that are connected to that. One is Yehi zichro or zichra, depending male or female, baruch, meaning may the blessed. But we even say zal. I mean, you put zayin lamed behind somebody's name after he is deceased. It means zichrono livracha. His memory is,
I didn't know
is
that.
a blessing.
I didn't know that.
So, at some point there's going to be David Zal, David blessed memory.
That's interesting. I had no idea that is.
It's like a title, like in reserve.
Yeah.
lieutenant, reserve, or
Yeah. Wow,
ex fire chief.
I did not know that.
So we that's part of Jewish tradition. We bless the memory as much as the person. That's really interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Laquita Clark, can you please buy some flowers from us here in Tennessee for Sister Alice's service with this money, please? Yes. Can you note that, Dale, just the name Laquita Clark, and we'll get some flowers in that name. I think that'd be very sweet. We'll go ahead and do that. So thank you, Laquita. What a blessing. What an absolute blessing. Thank you. Okay.
Europe. Connect Europe to what's going on.
Oh man, where do we start, bro? Like you got to tell me. You got to
so
tell
I'll
me.
tell-
And then we also, my understanding is we have that JD video,
All right.
the CBS
So,
JD video.
so
we
maybe
can do
that's a
that.
good way to start it.
Is to go look at that.
Go look at that. Let's see, because this is the Trump administration saying basically we are stepping back from having the peace of the world on our shoulders.
Yeah, I don't know if this. Well, let me see. I don't know if this is the one that. Well, let's see, because he's defending the JD Vance speech. Is that the one you're talking about, David?
No, I'm talking about the speech itself. I mean, there was.
Well, the speech itself was remarkable. The speech itself is around 19 minutes, and we could play that speech.
No, I'm not for the whole 19 minutes, but again, I think me and you already know enough about it.
No, okay,
But I
let
wanna-
me do
I
this.
wa-
Let me do
okay.
this. Dale, can you pull that speech for me and also put it into the Rip Docs? Because what I'll do is I'll actually play it. It's very interesting, by the way. Okay, let me play this then. Let me play the Marco Rubio or Marco Rubio defending JD Vance. That's what I think I have
Oh,
here right now.
interesting.
Yeah, so that should be
I have
pretty
not heard that
interesting.
one.
Yeah, it should be. Oops, let me go back. That didn't look right. Okay, let's go fix this. Here we go. There we go. Okay. JD Vance defending Marco Rubio. Here we go.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he
Oh,
met
now
with the
that's
head of a political
This I saw.
party that has far-right views. And
Can I just? I'll repeat this bozo's words. But what an can you forgive me for saying this? What an absolute idiot.
No, she's not an idiot. She's very, very smart. She is doing what the Hamas is doing, what other elements are doing. She is basically
Okay, I'm going to challenge you on this. Identify for me what makes her smart.
what she is doing basically, okay, is saying free speech of the kind that you are perpetrating actually resulted in the Holocaust. That's what she's saying. She's saying the Holocaust was a result of free speech. Because, and truthfully so, she says, the Nazi Party rose, okay, on the idea of free speech, okay, and they actually perpetrated the Holocaust, okay, in the guise of free speech.
Do you believe that she is so stupid that she could make a statement like that?
No.
Either that, she's so stupid that she could make a statement like that, or she's so smart that she chooses to be an absolutely satanically inspired devil that knows how to take something like that completely out of context without regard for history or an awareness of what that looks like. If she wants to define free speech as the mechanism that drove what happened in Nazi Germany, what does she mean by free speech? Free as long as you do what the dictator tells you to do?
Well, he actually answered that, but I want to go to the point that we are at right now. Okay, so here's my question to you. Is she deciding what to say, or is she a mouthpiece with a list of...
No, she's bought and paid for.
Okay.
We know what her price is.
So somebody
She has prostituted herself without having sexual relations. No, she is. She's a media whore. Tell me I'm wrong.
No,
Tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, we could.
She does what they pay her to do.
We could go down.
Pay me
into
my price. I'll
military
do
talk.
whatever you want.
We could go down into military talk before, but I want to stress this. Okay, somebody behind this is saying what we want to do is actually correlate. And again, this has been done. It's what we talked about a minute ago. Correlate between what the Trump administration is doing in Nazi Germany. And this is another attempt on that.
But the premise of this question is such caca. It's such a deceptive, demonic, satanic lie.
Do you think that there are people in that have watched this, the CBS audience, who say, "Wait a minute, yeah, I never thought about that. It was
They're
free
all,
speech."
dude. All these, probably 40% of this country is completely brainwashed.
Okay.
They watch the media. I know people that are really beautiful, really wonderful people who their whole political view is formed by these ugly women that are on The View. And they're about the ugliest women on the face of the earth.
Oh, come on. I mean, ugly?
Oh, bro, ugly. I'm talking about ugly. Look, if you think physical appearance has anything to do with beauty,
Okay.
you got something coming.
All right.
I mean,
all right.
Whoopi Goldberg is not even physically attractive. She's an ugly woman.
Okay. I'm
Tell me that's not true.
Whoopi Goldberg?
Yeah.
Oh, she looks like one of the guys in the army.
Oh, yeah. That's right. She may have transitioned. I don't know. We got to be careful.
Well, remember Goldberg?
All right.
Let's
I'm
go.
entitled to my opinion, Whoopi. This is crazy.
By the way, James,
Huh.
if they talk about us on The View this week, I'm going to be very happy.
I would be honored.
I would be. I mean,
I would be honored if they just ripped me a whole. Yep, that's right. I hope that would be exceptional.
I want. What's her name? Sunny. What's her name?
The one who's in a bunch of legal trouble.
Yeah. I want her to talk about me. I want her to, please, Sunny, talk about me. Talk about me, please.
Talk some smack. Make us rich.
Let's do this. Talk about me. Say that I said something terrible about you.
Ugh.
But
Just go back and listen to her question again. Can we just go back and listen to the
he was
premise?
standing in a country where
listen.
free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party
Stop
has
that. Free speech was
He's
weaponized.
emphasizing free speech in a country.
Free speech was weaponized to
In a
concoct
country
genocide.
that concocted genocide.
Okay. So what she's saying is that the free speech in Germany, okay, was weaponized in order to pull off the Holocaust.
Bull.
Yes, but
We know the truth to that.
wait a minute. You do. I do. But think about, I don't know. I don't want to give a name. I don't want to hurt anybody. But think about a middle-aged or a young person, a Gen X. I mean, think about Gen Z. Okay, watching this and say, "Wow, I never thought about that." Nazi Germany. That's how the Holocaust started. Maybe free speech isn't that much of a good thing.
I the worst part about what this evil woman is saying, and I've never even seen her, I'm just reacting. The worst part about what this evil woman is saying is that what she's saying is the direct opposite of what's true.
But that's been the case. That is devil tactic number 3. Is turn the cause and effect is number 2, I think, and turn the perpetrator into the victim and the victim into the perpetrator. Okay, and watch out. But he answers this very well. I really liked what he did.
Let's go back to listen to her baloney lie, and then let's listen to Marco Rubio's response.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide.
Liar.
And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship
I have to disagree with
was
you.
specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history.
Stop a minute. And what I want to say is this, and I don't know. This is a platform where people are listening to me. I want you to think about what he just now did. Evil is going to come at us, and it is going to lay facts on the table like with decisiveness and with authority and saying, this is my truth. What he just now said is, no, there's not your truth and my truth. There is the truth. And in order to defeat that kind of evil, you have to know the truth. And I know I'm talking to people who care about the truth, otherwise you wouldn't be listening to us here. But I need this idea to spread. You have to have knowledge. Okay, he did not pull this question or the answer to this question out of his hat just now. He has knowledge about what happened in Nazi Germany. He has understanding about how it went, and that allowed him not to accept the truth that was laid on the table by the devil, and to be able to come back with truth that actually totally defeats that. We need to learn how to do that more, and not enough of us truth warriors have that ability. And I want to say thank you for him doing it, but I want you to look at this and see what he did and how he did it and why this is so important for us to know so much about what's going on.
Yeah, and I believe Dale just uploaded the speech here, and we're gonna play it.
Well,
Okay, I want you guys to see what he says. At the very beginning is just this, in my opinion, David, may be one of the most brilliant speeches that any vice president will have ever given any time ever.
Well, the fact that we have a vice president that's in the trenches,
yeah,
is kind of new. I mean, can you just for a minute remember the vice president 2 months ago? Remember, can you imagine her standing in front of this, having anything relatively intelligent to say?
No, she's an ignorant fool.
Did we see her in any of these forums? Did we see her on any of these platforms? I mean, they must have known how much of a fool she was.
100%.
I mean, just look at the difference. Try to imagine Kamala Harris on that podium right now, you see, talking to these people, listening. And how did we even think that joke could become the Joker?
I mean, 100%.
That's a good one. That was
the
a good
joke
one.
could become the Joker. 100%. 100%. Okay, you ready?
Yep. Let's hear.
This is pretty brilliant.
Let's hear Vance.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you, and thanks to all the gathered delegates and luminaries and media professionals, and thanks especially to the host of the Munich Security Conference for being able to put on such an incredible event. We're, of course, thrilled to be here. We're happy to be here. And, you know, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is, of course, our shared values. And, you know, it's great to be back in Germany. As you heard earlier, I was here last year as United States Senator. I saw Foreign Secretary David Lammy and joked that both of us last year had different jobs than we have now. But now it's time for all of our countries, for all of us who have been fortunate enough to be given political power by our respective peoples, to use it wisely to improve their lives. And I want to...
Sounds pretty good so far.
So,
I mean, he sounds very neutral.
No, he's doing something else. Okay, he's saying
He's getting ready for them to get shellacked.
Yeah, well, he's saying the reason I'm here is to improve the lives of the people that sent me here.
Oh, yeah.
Now that is not something you hear all the politicians say.
They do say it with some regularity at a very surface level. And right now, JD appears to be at that surface level, at the cusp of that surface level.
Okay.
He's about to jump deep into this.
Let's hear.
But this is incredible. Watch what he does.
Say that, you know, I was fortunate in my time here to spend some time outside the walls of this conference over the last 24 hours. And I've been so impressed by the hospitality of the people, even of course, as they're reeling from yesterday's horrendous attack. And the first time I was ever in Munich was with my wife, actually, who's here with me today, on a personal trip. And I've always loved the city of Munich, and I've always loved its people. And I just want to say that we're very moved, and our thoughts and prayers are with Munich and everybody affected by the evil inflicted on this beautiful community. We're thinking about you, we're praying for you, and we will certainly be rooting for you in the days and weeks to come.
Okay, pause.
Stand by.
He knows how to do the yada yada.
Bro, and I'm telling you.
He yada yada them
bro,
big time.
Look, I'm going to just say it as they say in the hood, it finna go down. Bro, it's about to happen right now. This man is going to bring it on. I'm telling you. Notice the skill that has to be involved in me speaking while I'm pouring coffee at like that level.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Now,
let the games begin. They're applauding for him. I love this.
I hope that's not the last bit of applause that I get, but we gather at this conference, of course, to discuss.
Go back a minute, just a minute, and this is me looking at things from this point of view. Go back a couple of frames. I want to see the crowd.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, it is a smaller room than it actually seems.
Wait a minute, but okay, this is the.
I hope that.
Hold on.
It's not the last.
This is the, how do you say, the rich and not the rich and the famous, but the power brokers of Europe.
Yep.
Okay. And here's something I want to stress. There's no kippah. Nobody's wearing a kippah. You don't see any of that there. On the other hand, what do you see?
I don't know what you're looking for.
I'm looking at a Arab headdress.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yep.
Europe has traded its Jews for Muslims.
Boy, is that a mistake.
Yes, but I'm sorry that I kind of use visuals like this to say, wait a minute, you've given up, you've killed your Jews, you've murdered your Jews, you've thrown out whatever it is, and those who are left, even you're actually persecuting them like crazy, and you've brought in your Muslims, and this is going to be the downfall of Europe.
But let me ask you this question: how many Jews think it's a good idea to hang out in Germany even today?
Oh, there are those. But again, how many Jews think it's good to hang out in other places?
Oh, that's true. No, you're right. That's good. It's a point well taken. Okay, here we go.
It's a bit of applause that I get, but We gather at this conference, of course, to discuss security. And normally, we mean threats to our external security. I see many great military leaders gathered here today. But while the Trump administration is very concerned with European security and believes that we can come to a reasonable settlement between Russia and Ukraine, and we also believe that it's important in the coming years for Europe to step up in a big way to provide for its own defense, the threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values, values shared with the United States of America.
Okay, pause again.
Now, I was struck.
Okay. He just now said what I just now said. The threat is from within.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
The threat
100%.
is from within. And he is saying you have withdrawn from the external threats. He's saying that. You have withdrawn, stepped away from your external threats.
Yep.
Big time. By the way, one of the things I find interesting, he didn't say what the United States thinks. He says this is what the Trump administration thinks.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, oh, no, absolutely.
I like that.
It's absolutely. He is a good representative of his boss.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And he's actually a good representative of the American people here.
Well, as long as his boss is a good representative.
Yeah.
That's and here so far everybody's enjoying this, but James, I'm maybe something that I got to be careful of, because lately I've been thinking about how amazing what Trump is doing here, what Trump is doing there, what Trump is, and we might be sitting here a week, a month, a year from now and saying, oh, how did this turn on us?
Yeah. Let's try not to think that way.
I know.
Let's enjoy the ride while we're taking it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
That a former European commissioner went on television recently and sounded delighted that the Romanian government had just annulled an entire election. He warned that if things don't go to plan, the very same thing could happen in Germany too.
By the way, that was very serious when it happened, and nobody really paid attention to it.
I didn't pay attention to it.
Let me tell you where nobody else paid attention to another one that happened recently, which was just terrible. The French, but here's one that's even worse than that, and that's Ukraine.
Yep. They had elections?
No, they forwent elections. They said we're canceling elections.
Gotcha. Because
the leader of Ukraine is not just a dictator, he's a scumbag. He's an evil man. It's the truth.
He's in a very interesting situation, though, right now.
The guy I think that guy's more of a demon than Putin is.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And I'm not a big fan of Putin.
I certainly am not.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear JD.
Now, these cavalier statements are shocking to American ears. For years, we've been told that everything we fund and support is in the name of our shared democratic values. Everything from our Ukraine policy to digital censorship is billed as a defense of democracy. But when we see European courts canceling elections and senior officials threatening to cancel others, we ought to ask whether we're holding ourselves to an appropriately high standard. And I say ourselves because I fundamentally believe that we are on the same team. We must do more than talk about democratic values. We must live them. Now, within living memory of many of you in this room, the Cold War.
Look at how mad. Look at how mad
None of
some
them
of
are
these
smiling.
military
None
officials
of them
are.
are smiling.
They are ticked. They are ticked.
There's a lot of brass on that, that picture.
Oh, yeah. Some pretty angry Germans, some pretty angry Middle Easterners. France off in the corner. It's bad.
We're positioned defenders of democracy against much more tyrannical forces on this continent. And consider the side in that fight that censored dissidents, that closed churches, that canceled elections. Were they the good guys? Certainly not. And thank God they lost the Cold War. They lost because they neither valued nor respected all of the extraordinary blessings of liberty. The freedom to surprise, to make mistakes, to invent, to build, As it turns out, you can't mandate innovation or creativity, just as you can't force people what to think, what to feel, or what to believe. And we believe those things are certainly connected. And unfortunately, when I look at Europe today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action.
He's beating the heck out of the Germans right now. He's literally trashing them. Wait until he gets to the UK.
Let's do it. Let's go. I didn't watch the whole thing like this.
I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs.
Look at what he mentions here. What he mentions here is disgusting.
Well, the what do they call them? The grooming gangs?
Oh, he'll get into a little bit of that, but listen to what he brings up here. This is disgusting.
A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone.
Wait till you find out who he was praying for.
Okay.
Just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that.
I want to say this before he goes on. I did a story on this. I talked about this new law that the Brits were passing. I had lots of people, including some guys in ministry, who said that I was overboard, that I was going extreme, that this law wasn't designed to arrest people like this, that nothing like this would ever happen. And it's happening.
Evil plants a seed, and then it grows. And you don't see how big the tree is when the seed is planted. It's only later when it grows and grows and grows do you see how dangerous it is.
Yep. And they're devils. In the UK, they're a bunch of devils. But here we go.
This was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law.
That's not a joke. That's really happening.
I don't even know how to deal with this. And I haven't heard this, but does a Western-style democracy, how do you pull this off?
The same way they almost pulled it off in America. The same way they almost pulled it off in America. The same way they pulled it off in Nazi Germany. The same way they pulled it off in Iran. The Shah wasn't a good guy.
No, he was not.
He was definitely a dictator, but
so
none of this stuff would have ever happened.
But here's what's going on, by the way, and this is part of the Trump administration, the Trump effect. The vice president of the United States is standing on the stage in Europe, and he's basically, I'm not going to use the military term, but he's smacking the Europeans around.
Like a little Raggedy Ann doll.
Exactly. He's smacking them.
And they deserve it.
And they're all sitting there. They can't really do anything. Now, here's the thing. I'm sure there's going to be people all over on the left side of the political fence that go, oh, it's not fair. These are allies. Why do you treat them like that? You have to be polite to them. And I think this is the main difference. Trump is saying, no, I don't have to be polite anymore. And what you're seeing is a diplomatic version of an unpolite conversation.
Yeah. And you haven't seen anything yet.
Okay.
Look at the tongue lashing these people get.
Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizen suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat. And
there's a reason why we fought the Redcoats.
Oh.
Back during the times of the Revolution.
Yeah, but again, don't forget, United States has saved Britain's beef.
Oh my goodness,
twice.
So many times.
in the interest of comedy, my friends, but also in the interest of truth, I will admit that sometimes the loudest voices for censorship have come not from within Europe, but from within my own country, where the prior administration threatened and bullied social media companies to censor so-called misinformation. Misinformation like, for example, the idea that coronavirus had likely leaked from a laboratory in China. Our own government encouraged private companies to silence people who dared to utter what turned out to be an obvious truth. So I come here.
What was the obvious truth? It came from China.
It's a Chinese virus.
Yep.
Somebody said once, and everybody got on his. Okay, stop. Just think about this. Okay, I don't know if you remember. I mean, he said it publicly, and he said it, and the whole world went crazy. That how do you dare say that? He kind of backed down.
Look. Let me give you some perspective on this for just a second, just so that you're aware. Okay, if you go right now to my YouTube page, and how I'm just going to do this really quickly just to prove a point. Okay, if you go to my YouTube page says that I believe. Let me look at this. I just want to make sure I'm not looking at this wrong. My YouTube page says that throughout the course of the existence of my YouTube page, there are something like 50 or 60 million views. Okay? But then it says that I have made, I'm trying to find it, 2,700 videos on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
Okay? You know what that number really should be?
76.
That number should actually be close to 2,700. It should probably be close to 5,000 videos. And the reason why you don't see 5,000 videos in that video count is because I had to delete half my videos at the time. More than half my videos.
Relating to
3/4 of my videos, because YouTube was going back and spanking us for speaking freely about these issues because it was against their policy to do so. And when I said the things that I said at that time, I was not in violation of any of their policies. But because it was something that I said in the past, they were retroactively holding it against me, and it was eliminated. Ask me the reason why I'm not on Facebook actively anymore.
Why are you not on Facebook?
At one point when this was happening, on Facebook alone, I was seeing 18 million impressions a month. 18 million eyes were on my videos every single month on Facebook. Okay? It amounted to something like, it was more than YouTube at the time, like 4 million views.
Wow.
Every single month. Facebook removed me off their platform. Literally said, we're not monetizing you and we're not going to push out any of your videos because you played this video and you're promoting terrorism. That's what they told me. So then I said, what is promoting terrorism? Guess what it was?
The coronavirus.
One of our mutual friends, who's very well connected to Israel, specifically the Knesset, gave me information and said it was okay with their government. At the time, this was the end of the Bibi Netanyahu government before Yair Lapid and all these guys came in. It was okay to share this story about how the IDF thwarted a multi-rotor attack, a drone attack on assets off the shore of Lebanon.
Okay.
I made the video. I praised the precision of the Israeli Defense Force, and I said that they were amazing. They did an amazing job and an amazing group of people. My contacts in Israel were very thankful for the job that I did with making the video.
Okay.
And within 1.5 hours of the time of making the video, Facebook took the video down, said I couldn't put up a video for 90 days, and then took away all my monetization.
Well,
I appealed, and that was 2 years ago, and the appeal is still being looked at.
well, maybe
So-
maybe you should peel now again. I mean,
So when
Zuckerberg
they
has
say,
seen the
no,
light.
let me just tell you this thing about Zuckerberg seeing the light. Zuckerberg can shove it. I'm sorry. Zuckerberg is doing whatever the wave tells him to do.
That's true.
That's what
He's a
Zuckerberg is
surfer.
doing.
He's a
He's
surfer.
not a principled man.
He's a surfer.
He's not. Look. I love the fact that Joe Rogan likes him, and I love the fact that they respect the fact that he's a fighter now, and he's doing a lot of positive. Zuckerberg's beginning to do a lot of positive things. But let's be realistic. So what I did about 3 weeks ago was I made the decision that I'm going to, in essence, start to abandon my Instagram and Facebook because Facebook is non-existent anymore.
Almost not. Yeah.
Almost non-existent. Instagram, I have something like 65,000 followers, and it's dropping every day because I had a representative of Instagram call me and tell me that if I wanted to see my numbers go up, that I had to stop doing the content that I was doing.
Interesting.
She literally told me that.
Okay, so where are we going, James?
So now, it's a point. So now I'm on X. By the way, if you guys have not jumped on my X account, please do and follow me.
All right.
I'm on X. I'm still committed to YouTube because YouTube has come around to a degree. I'm on X. Please go to jameskaddis or x.com/James Kaddis. I would really appreciate you guys subscribing or following me. It would be a huge help because I'm going to do more and more and more. But he's right. These guys went out of their way to stomp on our livelihoods, to shut our voices, to penalize us for speaking up. Let me remind you, Twitter and Facebook took down the president. The sitting president of the United States took down his account, but they would not take down the account of Khomeini. They won't take down the account of death to the Americans.
Yeah, I remember that.
You sick pigs.
So what changed now?
Well,
let's see what JD says.
We'll move on, but I just want to say JD's right. They're not good people.
Yep.
They're evil people.
Here today, not just with an observation, but with an offer. And just as the Biden administration seemed desperate to silence people for speaking their minds, so the Trump administration will do precisely the opposite, and I hope that we can work together on that. In Washington.
Amen to that.
Amen. Yeah.
And I do
Let's
think
go.
that because of the existence of the Trump administration, certain things are going on that's different. I have a friend, Steve Turley. Some people know who Steve Turley is. Steve Turley's partner in business, really wonderful man, very good friend of mine. You should hear the stories of how above board Steve and his team have been in broadcasting on their YouTube channel and how quickly they got demonetized for years. And when I talk about demonetized, we're talking about a man who has a YouTube channel that has over 2 million subscribers.
Wow.
2 million. He has a monthly listening audience of easily 10 million people. So when his monetization is removed, it's no small amount of money.
Yeah.
He has a staff to support. He has people that he's paying for. Steve got ripped away, and it wasn't until I want to say a week before the inauguration that he got his monetization back after 2 years. And Steve did nothing wrong.
But are we over this? I mean, is it done? I mean, are we in a different place?
No,
now?
we're still I think the fight is still on. I think the fight is still on.
So what should we be doing to fight the fight?
Well, let's listen to what he says first. We'll have that conversation. I think that's an important one. Boy, has this conversation taken a different turn.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's worth it.
Yep. That's what we do.
There is a new sheriff in town.
Amen.
And under Donald Trump's leadership, we may disagree with your views, but we will fight to defend your right to offer it in the public square, agree or disagree.
It took them a while to clap for that one.
Notice the clowns that are so mad that they just refuse to clap.
Yeah, look at
By the way, that looks like BB's brother, but it's not. It's definitely not BB's brother. But it does look like this. This guy right here looks a little bit like Edo, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, he looks mad about something. He is not enjoying.
Well,
this.
if you know Edo Netanyahu, he always kind of looks like he's mad.
Oh, I don't know him. That
Even
well.
though he's a sweet, brilliant man. I just really love the
Well,
man.
I see a lot of weird faces, perplexed here.
But it does kind of look like him, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not, but it does.
Now, we're at the point, of course, that the situation has gotten so bad that this December, Romania straight up canceled the results of a presidential election based on the flimsy suspicions of an intelligence agency and enormous pressure from its continental neighbors. Now,
Sound familiar?
Who's the continental neighbors?
The nation. What he's talking about is the nations that surround him that are attached to
Okay.
To that area.
Continental.
Continental meaning not floating in an island body, not across the pond. Meaning
like
on the
something-
continent.
It
on the European
sounds like
continent.
something out of John Wick. I don't know if you know the John Wick
Yeah,
movies.
no, I do. No, but when he says the continental
Yeah, I
neighbors,
got you.
basically what he's saying is, just to give everybody that might not know, he's saying all of you in Europe.
The Europeans.
All y'all Europeans. European all over yourself. Okay, here we go.
Getting bad, James.
I know.
as I understand it, the argument was that Russian disinformation had infected the Romanian elections. But I'd ask my European friends to have some perspective. You can believe it's wrong for Russia to buy social media advertisements to influence your elections. We certainly do. You can condemn it on the world stage even. But if your democracy can be destroyed with a few $100,000 of digital advertising from a foreign country, then it wasn't very strong to begin with.
Woo! Mm-hmm. Notice the 5 people that are clapping.
Yeah.
Now, the good news is that I happen to think your democracies are substantially less brittle than many people apparently fear. And I really do believe that allowing our citizens to speak their mind will make them stronger still. Which, of course, brings us back to Munich, where the organizers of this very conference have banned lawmakers representing populist parties on both the left and the right from participating in these conversations. Now, again, we don't have to agree with everything or anything that people say. But when people represent, when political leaders represent an important constituency, it is incumbent upon us to at least participate in dialogue with them. Now, to many of us on the other side of the Atlantic, it looks more and more like old entrenched interests, hiding behind ugly Soviet-era words like misinformation and disinformation, who simply don't like the idea that somebody with an alternative viewpoint might express a different opinion or, God forbid, vote a different way or, even worse, win an election.
You hear that, Whoopi Goldberg?
Win an election.
I mean, everything he's saying is right.
I think the view's done. But let's finish this.
They are done. They're a bunch of wackos.
I think we're not going to view the view much longer.
From your lips to God's ears. But they do have the right to share their misinformation
Fine.
all they want.
There's all kinds of things on the wall.
Oh, the humor in that nonsense. Okay, here we go.
Now, this is a security conference, and I'm sure you all came here prepared to talk about how exactly you intend to increase defense spending over the next few years in line with some new target. And that's great, because as President Trump has made abundantly clear, he believes that our European friends must play a bigger role in the future of this continent. We don't think you...
Do you hear how harsh that? I mean, he says, yeah, and you're all getting together, figuring out how much money you want to spend, and that's great because guess what? You all owe us a lot of money.
Yeah,
that's basically what he's saying here.
You're sitting here to do exactly what we think you should be doing.
Okay, let's continue on.
This term, burden sharing, but we think it's an important part of being in a shared alliance together that the Europeans step up while America focuses on areas of the world that are in great danger. But let me also ask you, how will you even begin to think through the kinds of budgeting questions if we don't know what it is that we're defending in the first place? I've heard a lot already in my conversations, and I've had many, many great conversations with many people gathered here in this room. I've heard a lot about what you need to
Sorry, that froze there for a second. Here we go.
defend yourselves from, and of course that's important. But what has seemed a little bit less clear to me, and certainly I think to many of the citizens of Europe, is what exactly it is that you're defending yourselves for. What is the positive vision that animates this shared security compact that we all believe is so important? And I believe deeply that there is no security if you are afraid of the voices, the opinions, and the conscience that guide your very own people.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, we're still not done yet. He's still spanking them.
I need to ask a question here, okay? Because one of the things that I've been complaining about is the anti-Semitism in Europe. And again, does this kind of idea cover, let's say, anti-Semitism?
Absolutely, it does.
Okay, so does free speech accept from the river to the sea?
Well,
Should it accept?
Look, unfortunately, free speech is free speech. The only time when free speech breaks its legal prowess in the United States of America is if it's inciting. So if I say, I don't like Jews, you could say till you're blue in the face. If you say something like we should eliminate them, that's a problem.
Okay, so
because there's an incitement variable that could actually, it's kind of like the old school legal standard that you can't scream fire in a crowded theater. Because if you scream fire in a crowded theater, yeah, that's right.
So does free speech basically exclude anything that would cause harm to somebody else? Is that the definition?
Yes, but understand this. The criteria used to establish what that looks like should be a very, very, very thin line.
He's standing in Munich, okay? Should free speech in Munich include Holocaust denial? I mean, somebody stands up and said, I don't believe the Holocaust happened.
Absolutely, you can do that. I think you should be able to have free speech and say that.
I can say, I think that only 6,000 people were killed, murdered in the Holocaust, not 6 million.
Yeah, but I think you should have the freedom to say that.
Because it's illegal in Germany.
But let me explain this to you. If you're able to allow people to say things like that, it will actually guarantee the preservation of what actually happened in the Holocaust. Because it allows dissenting voices to speak without the concern or the worry that that dissent is coming from some place of oppression. So if I go to you and I say right now, David, you're not allowed to say that the Holocaust isn't real. And I live in a country that says that. With the average kid who knows nothing about it and has no weight to it or doesn't realize, will immediately go to the place that says, well, it must not be real, because if they're making us say that it wasn't.
I get it. But
So there has to be a freedom to express those opinions, as well as the freedom to have well-argued, effectively articulated points of view that allow the merits of the argument to prevail.
again, let's go back to the Marco Rubio and the CBS instance.
Same thing.
Same thing.
I mean, Marco made her look like the idiot that she is.
Well, he's making all of Europe look like the idiots that they
Well,
are.
I mean, and that's the truth. So yeah, it does. I mean, people insult me every day.
Well,
They say things like,
Okay.
like I have a high pitched voice, and well, not everybody. I don't even understand where that comes from, or that I make these funny faces, when I do this,
Okay,
that
but
kind of
here's
thing.
the thing. Let's say
They can do that.
take the other side. Should you be allowed to say that Muhammad was a pedophile,
Yes.
even if that will or might result in violence?
You absolutely, anything that a person says freely could potentially result in violence. But unless there's like a direct incitement, it's a different picture.
I think it was the famous Jordan Peterson with that reporter, that Kathy lady, that he says you have to take consideration that you will offend people when you say things.
Yep.
Wait.
And part of that offense is useful and beneficial for the prevalence of truth.
Yep.
You have to do it. So
Okay.
he's not wrong.
Europe faces many challenges.
Like, here's my thing. Can I just say this before because he's about to say Europe faces many challenges, and he's going to get into the reason why and so on and so forth, which I think is very important. But this is why I think free speech is so important, because it makes people look like the fools that they are when they run their mouths, like Candace Owens, for example, has been running her mouth.
Yeah.
The one thing I learned with Candace Owens that is becoming more and more obvious to me is that Candace Owens has a level of intelligence that's pretty remarkable and pretty extensive, but it only extends because of the way she chooses to use it to her ability to grift. She's a grifter. She's a con artist.
Yeah, but she's pretty good at it.
As I said before,
Here's the thing.
her intelligence is remarkable, and her ability to be able to articulate a perspective seems to be quite well.
Kamala Harris was a con artist, but she was not good at it.
No. But she is. But again, that's the thing with Candace Owens. She's a dishonest person.
Yeah.
And she's willing to continue to be a dishonest person.
You think she knows how dishonest she is? Or has
Absolutely. No way you can look at the letter that Dennis Prager wrote her and say that now she's ignorant about the facts that she continues to lie about.
Yeah.
There's no way in the world.
How is he, by the way?
A lot better than we thought. Here's the thing that happened with Dennis that most people aren't talking about because most people don't know this. When Dennis fell, on the day that he fell, the injury was so bad that it caused swelling in his spine. Oof. He did not lose his cognitive ability, meaning he could, think clear, all that. None of that was gone, but it paralyzed him from the neck down. And most people don't know that. It was very confidential information until recently. So that's beginning to look like it's going to go away. Praise God. But it's been very difficult for
He's
him.
never going to be the same.
We don't know. I'm praying that he will be. And I'm praying, physically, that God will restore him and he'll be better. And I think that God can do that.
He, I think, and what he represents and what he put out was, I think, part of the reason for the shift in, or I'm not going to say the shift, the understanding of many more people of the danger of what was happening.
The devil hates Dennis Prager. Look, I've had some pretty significant disagreements with Dennis on some of the stuff that he's
Oh,
talked
no.
about, like the view on pornography and a few other things like that. But I think Dennis is a remarkable person. I think Dennis has made, probably, if you were to look at the statement that Jews in America have helped to make America what it is, that's especially true of Dennis Prager.
Yep.
Dennis Prager is, in my opinion, one of the most consequential thought leaders in our country.
So let's hope that his health will allow him to get back, and let's hope that his legacy will continue.
Last update I heard was from his son, and he's doing much better than he was, and actually miraculously better. Like, everybody is shocked that he's progressing so well.
Let's get back to JD Vance smacking Europe.
There we go.
Challenges. But the crisis this continent faces right now, the crisis I believe we all face together, is one of our own making. If you're running in fear of your own voters, there is nothing America can do for you. Nor, for that matter, is there anything that you can do for the American people who elected me and elected.
Let's just go back and look at how angry some of these people look. I mean, it is kind of hilarious.
Is there anything that
Look at how disgusted these people look. I mean, they're mad.
you can do for the American people who elected me and elected President Trump? You need democratic mandates to accomplish anything of value in the coming years. Have we learned nothing that thin mandates produce unstable results? But there is so much of value that can be accomplished with the kind of democratic mandate that I think will come from being more responsive to the voices of your citizens. If you're going to enjoy competitive economies, if you're going to enjoy affordable energy and secure supply chains, then you need mandates to govern, because you have to make difficult choices to enjoy all of these things. And of course, we know that very well in America. You cannot win a democratic mandate by censoring your opponents or putting them in jail, whether that's the leader of the opposition, a humble Christian praying in her own home, or a journalist trying to report the news. Nor can you win one by disregarding your basic electorate on questions like who gets to be a part of our shared society.
Pause a minute. I can't help this. I mean, okay. I don't know if you spend any time in Europe.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So I'm thinking about the French. They are sitting in Paris. This is the greatest city in the world, the greatest culture in the world.
Not a fan of them.
I'm thinking about the British, who said we had an empire from that the sun never set. I'm thinking about the Italians and they're all sitting in there, and they're saying to themselves, who does this America think they are, coming here and telling us how to run our countries? Who does this America think they are?
Who do I think? Yeah, I can see
mean,
that.
you can see, I can hear them.
Oh, yeah.
We are the French people. We are the great British Empire. We are the Italian pasta makers. I mean, who do you think you are? And what President Trump is doing, through JD Vance here, is saying, I'm telling you that if you don't do it our way, we don't have any use for you.
Yeah. Y'all are going to say, yes, massa. That's what y'all are going to do.
And they're sitting there, and they must be fuming through their cultural antennas right now.
Oh,
there
100%.
must be smoke coming out of their pasta bakeries and their baguettes. I mean, they're going crazy. I know enough about the French that they're saying, who does this American think he is?
Weren't you a diplomat in France?
Yeah, well, I wasn't. What I did was not diplomatic, but I was a diplomat.
Oh,
Who is this American coming to tell us what
who
to
do
do?
they think they are?
Yeah.
Who do they think they are? Oh man, you gonna get us in trouble.
I didn't say anything wrong.
No, you didn't actually.
Yeah.
Although the pasta makers was a little, with their baguettes and the pasta makers.
But I need to watch JD Vance to do a little bit more. I can't say the word, but he's doing a certain kind of smacking that has a name for it, but I will not say it.
Were you going to say pimp slapping?
No.
Yeah, okay, we okay. All right.
Alors,
That's a harsh one.
and continue, s'il vous plaît.
This is all David's fault, everybody. I want you to know that. It's all on David.
Alors.
All the
Olivier,
pressing challenges that the nations represented here face, I believe there is nothing more urgent than mass migration. Today, almost 1 in 5 people living in this country moved here from abroad. That is, of course, an all-time high. It's a similar number, by the way, in the United States, also an all-time high.
By the way, can we just talk about the mass migration thing for just a second?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't think that's a big deal. You saw the video from
What do you mean if I don't
No,
think
no,
it's a big
in
deal?
case, meaning people, in case people don't think this is a big deal.
Oh.
Look at you saw the new South Wales healthcare workers video.
Yeah, I saw.
Disgusting. And if you speak Arabic, it's even more disgusting. It was
El Kalb, and then I will send the Kalb to Jannah.
yeah, Jahanna. He didn't just say kalb. He said another word that's very, very harsh that we in Arabic it's the equivalent for a derogatory word for poop. Just so you know. If you were to say piece of you know what, dog, I'm sending him so anyway. These two workers,
By the way,
animals.
Why are we careful not to say things that I'm hearing all over the internet? I
like,
mean, even
what-
people like, people say these words all the time. Will we get in trouble for saying these words?
No, it's not that we get in trouble. It's
Well,
just that,
my mom would wipe or wash my mouth
yeah,
out
that's
with
my
soap.
point. I
if
mean, as
said
a believer, and then there's also too, we have families watching this. I'm not gonna get into some of the nastier cursing, but I will say this: the guy is, the guy's an animal, and so is that woman. They are literally animals, but they go up in front of everybody, and they tell this famous. I think he's a famous.
I don't think they knew who they were talking
yeah,
about.
no, they
He
had
was
no
Israeli.
idea.
He was
Yeah.
he's an Israeli podcaster.
And a famous one is my understanding. I don't know,
He does this. He talks to people and gets them into
like randomly, and he gets into random discussions.
and
is my
there's a whole
understanding.
new podcast system where I call somebody that doesn't know who I am, and then we talk and we see how he reacts to the fact that I'm Israeli and
Yeah.
so forth.
So these two people say, not only would I kill you if you were here, but I've killed many people in my care. So they're beginning to find evidence that what they're saying is true.
Did they?
That they they found morphine in the guy's locker, and there's lots of things they're beginning to realize. Okay, this may be true. And then the other thing that they discovered, he's a refugee from Afghanistan.
Yeah. And again, Europe is starting to understand. I mean, I think that Denmark just now passed moved into the second place of the highest amounts of rape per capita anywhere in the world.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're starting to understand that a lot of the things that they're suffering come from this migration thing.
Oh yeah.
By the way, before I want to stress two things about the migration. Denmark, Sweden, Germany open up their gates to millions of Arab Muslim refugees from Syria and other Muslim countries. And now they're making a big issue about the 1.9 million refugees from Gaza. The hypocrisy is out.
Come on, let's just get real for a second. Can we just get real? How about the fact that the IRGC alone, the IRGC in Iran alone, is responsible for the death of 850,000 Arabs in Syria?
Oh, what about Yemen?
And I'm only talking about between 1980 and 1981. I'm not talking about the many millions that have died since Bashar al-Assad did what he did. Come on.
How many died in Sudan this year?
Sudan alone, probably we're going to hit 2 million.
Yeah, I mean, again, the hypocrisy is
It's ridiculous.
inconceivable. Okay,
It's ridiculous. And they're crying about what? Look, can I also say this? Because this is also important to point. Jordan, the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan, in the last 3 months since the fall of Assad, has taken over 1 million Syrian refugees.
And they already had 1.5 million.
That's right.
How many are in Turkey?
Oh
Syria?
my goodness, that number is bigger. Is it 3.5 million now?
3.5 million.
Yeah, I heard
Syrian
2.5 last time. Yeah, so 3.5.
Again, the hypocrisy is rampant. But again, I want to step away from the Israel part, and I think Europe is starting to understand that they have a serious problem.
Of course, they're starting to understand, and I think that the reason why JD is doing what he's doing right now is because it's becoming what's necessary to. It is what is predicate to the fix that they're wanting to bring in. They have to let people know the core of the problem.
What's the name of that show where this famous chef goes into a restaurant and kind of fixes the restaurant?
Oh, that's Chef Ramsay. He does it.
Okay, so here's the thing.
I think it was called Kitchen Nightmares at the time. It was the most popular.
But the idea is this. If your restaurant is a balagan, okay, then a chef is going to come in and he will invest in your restaurant, but only if that restaurant straightens itself out.
Yeah, and the thing I think is hilarious about those Gordon Ramsay shows is Gordon Ramsay's not just a 5-star Michelin chef. He's also a phenomenal businessman. He actually knows how to run a restaurant. But these restaurant owners don't want to listen to him.
Yeah, but
because they're so attached to the slop that they cook.
Not only that, they think he's crazy.
Yeah?
Okay. Is Trump a political version of Gordon Ramsay?
Oh, no.
Okay,
No.
I couldn't help that.
No.
But again,
look, if you took Gordon Ramsay and you made him 1,000 times more potent and extreme, then you've got Donald Trump.
But here, what's JD saying to Europe? He says, if you don't get your house in order, we can't import, we can't support, and we cannot invest in you.
100%.
And basically, all the Europeans are saying, c'est pas possible. C'est pas bon. C'est pas. Just look at their faces. Okay.
He's saying, is that possible in French? Okay, let's go. It's hilarious, by the way.
Number of immigrants who entered the...
I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch that again.
I'm going to laugh. I got him laughing today.
Okay, here we go.
Than mass migration. Today, almost 1 in 5 people living in this country moved here from abroad. That is, of course, an all-time high. It's a similar number, by the way, in the United States, also an all-time high. The number of immigrants who entered the EU from non-EU countries doubled between 2021 and 2022 alone, and of course, it's gotten much higher since. And we know this situation, it didn't materialize in a vacuum. It's the result of a series of conscious decisions made by politicians all over the continent and others across the world over the span of a decade. We saw the horrors wrought by these decisions yesterday in this very city. And of course, I can't bring it up again without thinking about the terrible victims who had a beautiful winter day in Munich ruined. Our thoughts and prayers are with them and will remain with them. But why did this happen in the first place? It's a terrible story, but it's one we've heard way too many times in Europe and unfortunately too many times in the United States as well. An asylum seeker, often a young man in his mid-20s, already known to police, rams a car into a crowd and shatters a community.
Is that what happened in New Orleans?
New Orleans, and then there's a variation of that in Vegas with the explosion of that vehicle. But some people say that wasn't one of the same. That was a different situation. It was a military guy that was trying to sound the horn on something different. It's a big old mess. But yes.
How many times must we suffer these appalling setbacks before we change course and take our shared civilization in a new direction? No voter on this continent went to the ballot box to open the floodgates to millions of unvetted immigrants. But you know what they did vote for? In England, they voted for Brexit, and agree or disagree, they voted for it. And more all over Europe, they're voting for political leaders who promise to put an end to out-of-control migration. Now, I happen to agree with a lot of these concerns, but you don't have to agree with me. I just think that people care about their homes, They care about their dreams, they care about their safety and their capacity to provide for themselves and their children. And they're smart. I think this is one of the most important things I've learned in my brief time in politics. Contrary to what you might hear a couple mountains over in Davos, the citizens of all of our...
I mean, bro, he rips a new hole into the World Economic Forum. He just trashes Davos.
And they're sitting, and some of those people that are sitting there were in Davos.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Rick Warren's probably offended by this guy.
Nations don't generally think of themselves as educated animals or as interchangeable cogs of a global economy. And it's hardly surprising that they don't want to be shuffled about or relentlessly ignored by their leaders. And it is the business of democracy to adjudicate these big questions at the ballot box. I believe that dismissing people, dismissing their concerns, or worse yet, shutting down media, shutting down elections.
Look at the visible anger that exists in many of these military leaders who are just ticked.
Interesting. I only see one that has an earphones on, meaning everybody else speaks English.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cool.
But look at how mad these people are.
Yeah.
One of the U.S. officials, I can't see his face.
How do you tell U.S.?
It's really easy on the medals that they have that you can't see off the corner.
Okay.
That you can see at the very top above the head. That's definitely a U.S. official. But it's just very hard to tell.
I don't know enough about European. One of them looks very German to me. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, no, there's two Germans in this.
Yeah.
So, and then there's one uniform that I just don't know what it is. I'm not seeing enough. I actually think it's German Navy is what I think it is.
Do they have a Navy?
Yeah. I think there's a German Air Force. What's the equivalent to German Air Force?
Luftwaffe.
Yeah. And then like that, the naval side of it.
I heard that the United States Navy is bigger than all the 9 navies that come after it together.
Easily.
But China.
Well, China's big. We don't know how big they are, but they're big.
We haven't talked about China today, but okay, let's finish here. Let's finish here.
Or shutting people out of the political process protects nothing. In fact, it is the most surefire way to destroy democracy. And speaking up and expressing opinions isn't election interference. Even when people express views outside your own country, and even when those people are very influential. And trust me, I say this with all humor, if American democracy can survive 10 years of Greta Thunberg scolding, you guys can survive a few months of Elon Musk.
Oh my gosh. Shots fired. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Okay.
But what no democracy, American, German, or European, will survive is telling millions of voters that their thoughts and concerns, their aspirations, their pleas for relief are invalid or unworthy of even being considered.
You know the Germans
Democracy
are angry.
rests on the sacred principle
him.
that the voice of the people matters. There's no room for firewalls. You either uphold the principle or you don't. Europeans, the people, have a voice. European leaders have a choice. And my strong belief is that we do not need to be afraid of the future. You can embrace what your people tell you, even when it's surprising, even when you don't agree. And if you do so, you can face the future with certainty and with confidence, knowing that the nation stands behind each of you. And that, to me, is the great magic of democracy. It's not in these stone buildings or beautiful hotels. It's not even in the great institutions that we have built together as a shared society.
I gotta help it.
To believe in democracy is to understand that each of our citizens has wisdom and has a voice. And if we refuse to listen to that voice, even our most successful fights will secure very little. As Pope John Paul II in my view, one of the most extraordinary champions of democracy on this continent or any other, once said.
Now, mind you, he's a Catholic, so his invocation of Pope John Paul II is interesting, in that John Paul II, because of his association with Poland and the fact that he despised the actions of Hitler, especially as it related to Poland, was very vocal and very open about his displeasure with Germany in what they did. So the invocation of Pope John Paul II is deeply insulting to the Germans. And I don't know if he did that on purpose.
Oh, I did not think about that one.
But my guess is it's probably very insulting to the Germans. I mean, my guess is he probably did that on purpose.
He's in Germany.
I'm certain of it. And by the way, it's a literal slap into the face to Pope Francis.
Well, after all the rest other slaps that he's been doing, I think that one doesn't really hurt as much. He slapped him much more.
Oh, yeah.
Do not be afraid. We shouldn't be afraid of our people, even when they express views that disagree with their leadership. Thank you all. Good luck to all of you. God bless you.
Okay, here's how I feel. If I'm sitting there as a German lieutenant colonel, okay, or a French, what do they call it? I don't know. But here's the thing. It's like it's like somebody coming into your house and telling you how to raise your kids.
Maybe.
That's what he just now did. He said, this is what should be important to you. This is what should not be important to you. This is how you should treat your people. Basically, that's what he's saying. And I'm going to tell you, the Europeans especially think that they're better than.
Oh, yeah. No, they despise what just happened.
Yeah. I mean,
that's guaranteed.
This was a schoolyard slap kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
In the back of the neck kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, just, who do you think? And they're all sitting here, they're saying, who do you think you are? And basically, I think that's part of the difference. I mean, if Kamala Harris was there, or I don't know.
Kamala Harris would have gotten up there and went,
no.
hey, Ukraine, join NATO. Hey, I'm up for the highest bidder. Pay me whatever I can make, and I'll be your friend.
Who was the Secretary of State before? What's his name? That was all over Gaza. Anyway.
Oh, you mean the one that was under
Biden?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Trump one. That would be Antony Blinken.
Blinken. Okay, Blinken was
the devil.
Was I'm going to say a hand licker. I'm not going to say the rest. Okay, but Blinken would have been there saying, "Oh, I understand. I'm sorry, but and." The appeasement element, okay?
I agree.
The talking about, I mean, he was appeasement to Hamas.
I agree.
He was appeasing of Iran for
Well, there were state officials that worked for him, bro, that were known terrorist affiliates.
Yeah, well.
In their disclosures, they were.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if he was as bad as John Kerry, but
yeah,
was an Iranian. I think he was an Iranian operative.
Yeah,
for lack of a better word. But again, the whole appeasement, we got to be nice to them. We need to talk nice to them. We need to be polite with them. That has gotten us into the situation. And I think President Trump is saying, I'm not being nice anymore. And what you saw just now was the United States of America going to Europe and not being nice.
Yeah, I would agree.
And what is happening besides the rhetoric, James? America is saying, deal with your own issues. Okay, America is saying, if it's a problem for me, I will deal with it the way I want to deal it. Look at what he's doing with Ukraine and Zelensky. He's kind of saying, I'm going to deal with it. Okay, and what do I find fascinating? I don't know if you realize, Marco Rubio was sitting in Saudi Arabia and talking to the Russians.
Bro, I mean,
that is profound.
I mean, there's so much to say about all of this. And what's really funny is my theory on him sitting in Saudi Arabia has everything to do with what I've been saying from the very beginning. And I think that MBS represents the overall position of the royal family. And the overall position of the royal family is they are in lockstep with President Trump. He
has basically said to MBS, okay, you're going to be my kingmaker, ringman, whatever
Yeah,
you want to,
yeah.
henchpin in the Middle East.
Which is smart, because who's going to argue with MBS?
And again, MBS is going to do it, not because MBS is a great person. Remember,
Oh, yeah.
MBS is the one who, what was his name? Khashoggi? Cut Khashoggi up.
Khashoggi.
Whatever. Khashoggi. Cut him up into pieces, put him in acid, and took him out in Ziploc bags.
Yeah.
I mean, that's MBS. And Trump is saying, okay, that's your problem, all right, as long as you are on my side of the fence. And what we're seeing is a new world diplomacy. We haven't talked a lot about Israel, but what is happening in Israel right now is another version of what you just now saw.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay? And Marco Rubio is in Saudi Arabia telling all of the different players here, this is what we want.
I mean, David, it's a disease that's affecting the whole world.
Yeah, but if he pulls out, if the United States pulls out, think about this. You're going to have piracy on the high seas because the United States is the policeman on the sea.
100%.
Okay. And I don't know if you know how much piracy was a major issue down through the ages. You're going to have every, how do you say, Tom, Dick, and Harry, I think is the way you guys say it here, with a couple of drones and a ballistic missile in his garage, is going to attack whoever he thinks and hold countries hostages.
Super true.
Okay, and if the United States is not playing a role in this, okay, if we're not going over to save from the Hungarians, and we're not going to go over to save from the Ukrainians, and we're not going to go over to save from the Russians, okay, who's going to save Europe? Who is going? And my problem is this. The population in Europe is going more and more Muslim, meaning if they are not already Muslim, the Muslim influence is way, way deeper into the political system in Europe than anybody thinks.
But listen to me. Don't think for a second that Donald Trump does not see himself as a combatant of Islam. He does.
Oh, definitely does. Definitely.
Because he knows the poison.
Yeah. And what he did, what he did with the Palestinians, by the way, is another slap to all of Islam.
Oh, I know what you mean when you say slap. No, I get it.
Okay. And it really is, it's a slap that comes from power, which basically is saying line up. And what he did he wasn't being nice. He's not appeasing the Muslim world. He's saying, this is what I want. This is the way I see it. And what is happening, and we haven't talked about Egypt, but I don't think we're going to have to do that. We'll have time to do it. But what is happening is the whole Arab world is now saying, is scrambling. Oh, okay, don't slap me again. Okay, here's what I'm going to do for you. Here's what I'm going to do for you. Here's what I'm going to do for you. And again, that is the situation. And whether his plan does play out, the fact that he has pushed them into a corner where they have to run and bring an alternative to his to his plan is, I mean, the Arab Union is the Arab League is meeting now to bring up a plan because they're freaked out that if they don't bring up something that will convince Donald Trump to say okay, then he's going to do his plan.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, now, why didn't they do this for the last year and a half? Why haven't they met together to solve the issue for the last 6 months?
100%.
How come they're not? Because he is saying either if you don't want to do it my way, bring me something that I am willing to accept.
Yeah.
And that's already being played out as we speak.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Assisi's right there. I mean, Assisi is scrambling to convince right now.
Oh, yeah.
Is scrambling to convince the Hamas to give up their weapons.
Oh, you know that he is. He doesn't even want to deal with Islamic Brotherhood.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He's doing it not so much because of him. He's doing it because he needs to find a plan that is agreeable to Jordan and him, that he thinks that Trump will accept. And here's the thing. He thinks Trump will accept what Bibi decides. I don't think that's true. But again, that's part of it.
And he look, if Trump's going to do this effectively, he can't make Bibi the deciding variable either. I mean, it might help him in some respects, especially as it relates to his policy directly tied to Israel. Mm-hmm. But he has to see the bigger picture. Bibi's going to contend for what Bibi's going to contend for, and I don't blame him for doing so. But there's a bigger picture involved.
We're about to close up, but I want to mention something that's really, really important, and I want to get people ready for this. Hamas is going to be giving us some of the bodies back from the first stage of
were those the dead bodies?
The dead bodies. we think that 3 of those dead bodies are the Bebus babies and the mother. And it is going, I mean, we all know it. We all feel it. The world's not talking about it, but we're talking about it. Israel's talking about it. But it is going to be a horrific, I mean, that symbolizes everything that's wrong and evil in this thing more than anything else. And I'm asking you, when as this happens, is please pray for us. I mean,
Do you think the babies are coming out on this one?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get the coffins. Do you understand what's going to happen to Israel when those coffins get handed over? Because until now, we don't believe they're alive, but until now, you don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's a huge difference between not knowing and not. And when those coffins get loaded on,
There's going to be some new anger in Israel.
oh, there already is, but think about this. And my question is this, and what I want to really, really pay attention to and see how this works. Who in the world is going to feel that anger? I mean, who is going to justify it and who is going to be appalled by it? It's going to be very interesting. Watch who and what and how this is related, because again, there's nothing worse than the death of a child in this kind of scenario.
That's right. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And pray for us. Please pray
not
for
wrong.
us. This is a wound that is going to get torn open. And this is going to happen this week, it looks like.
I think we had a good conversation. I was really hoping to talk about Iran and specifically Egypt, but we can do that next week.
Yes, we can.
There's a lot to talk about there. Matter of fact, we'll have a lot more to talk about next week.
Well, Iran is threatening.
Yeah.
Saying that, how do you say, the retaliation for the last Israeli attack is still forthcoming. They say that. There was an Egyptian minister who said that, we can be in Tel Aviv in an hour if we want to. So yes, it is ramping up. So again, pray for us. But again, the politics aside, the personal issue is going to be the main issue for Israel this week.
That's right. That's right. Can I?
When he goes like that, I'm worried.
How far do you think the general population in Israel will go with demanding from Bibi that retaliatory action take place when they see all those dead bodies?
No, Israel is going to stay separated along the lines that it's separated right now.
Do you honestly think that's going to be the case?
Well,
because that's the discussion of debate that I've been having with a lot of folks. Are we going to see more people move towards the Bibi side? I think we're going to see more people move towards the Bibi side.
Oh, definitely you're going to see more people move towards the Bibi side. But I'm saying the ones who are saying don't do anything until we get all the hostages out are going to be on the same side of that fence. That's not going to change. There's going to be a lot of... In fact, there are people who are going to take the Bibas event and turn it into, this is why we have to give more concessions in order to get the rest of them out before this happens to everybody. And there's going to be the ones who will say the opposite.
When are they going to see through that, bro? When are the people going to see through that bullcock think tank mess up that got them there in the first place?
Glad to say that I don't have any children in that situation, because if I did, I don't know what. But again, I'm very adamantly being careful not to condemn or even, the people who have that kind of, that's the kind of feeling that I can't deal with. I don't know how to deal with it. If it was my son.
David, you're a Jew.
I know.
David, you're Israeli. Come on, man. Let's this sounds harsh, but there's a point in time where you have to rip off the Band-Aid and recognize that those lives are already lost.
So, first of all, no, they're not lost yet. And as long as there's hope, and again, think about all the hostage situation movies that you've ever seen. Okay, and you've known that, and we've seen those for years. So there's always that kind of hope. There's always there, too. as a Jew, remember taking Jewish hostages was a pastime in Europe for many years, for ransom. I mean, Jews have always been worried about things like that. So this has been normal. 3, the concept of the sanctity of life above all else is a Jewish concept.
You're right.
I mean, it's and again, if I can do anything to save the life, even jeopardize my life.
But the greatest danger of the Jewish concept that I see right now is the Western influence that is beginning to occupy their minds.
No,
perhaps the greatest and most effective erroneous variable that exists within the mind of the Jew right now that's being influenced by the West is the failure to remember the fact that religious idealism, as it relates to Islamic fundamentalism, cannot be defeated unless there is an inspiration by the religious movement that's created through the true and living God. The principles of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And if you really do truly believe in those principles, then you have an easier time understanding that there's a difference between good and evil.
Oh, I think,
and that you have an obligation to fight.
I think
that evil.
Israel.
The West doesn't understand that.
I think that's true, but I think Israel does. The vast majority. And again, don't forget, we have our liberals and we have our progressives, and again, we talked about appeasement as a way to solve problems, as opposed to power as a way to solve problems.
And I hate to say this, but the appeasement is fundamentally predicated upon this Western influenced denial of the understanding of religion and what it means, and it's founded in the assumption that the person that you oppose has the same values as you.
No, yes,
and they don't have it.
First of all, I agree with that completely, because most Arabs see the world in a very different. Most Middle Easterns, and I think it was one of the Israeli commentators says, since when did Trump learn how to speak Arabic?
Well, yeah, I mean, and then you also have to think about this, because like this is also another really important aspect of this. You've been saying this all the time, and it's interesting now to see that there are people that are actually beginning to catch on to this. Here's a great example of this. The founder of the IRGC was interviewed by Pat Bet-David. Mm-hmm. I watched that interview. One of the things that the founder of the IRGC said, and I don't know how completely sincere he was. I think that he's still a propagandist.
Probably.
Okay, even though, Khomeini hates him. But
is he in exile?
I think he's living in the United States.
I mean, does he have security walking around?
I'm not so sure. I know this. I know that he was integral part of Khomeini when he came from France and did what he did. Integral part of what happened in the revolution.
IRGC, Iranian Republican
Guard. Yeah.
And what's the C?
The
Corps.
The
Iranian Republican Guard.
Yeah. The Iranian Republican Guard Corps, I believe, Corps.
Something like that.
But remember, when the IRGC was started, it was in essence a think tank. That was the original design was to have 50 to 100 people at the highest echelon of IQ, philosophy, education, blah, 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 blah. They were hoping to bring in what was roughly another 5,000 that weren't as high IQ as them, but still relatively smart managers. And then they wanted to harness at least 1 million of the Iranian population, which was 19 million at the time, to become the extenders of their action. Now, it's turned into a monster because the IRGC has, as you know, they have an intelligence unit. There are all kinds of things that they do.
No, it's because they're based on Shiite theology.
Yeah. But the thing that was that this guy said that I was shocked that he said it. I was shocked that he was this open about it. He said the way that we were able to influence a majority of the people in this revolution was to teach them that the weakness that we were seeing in Iran at the moment that the Shah was removed was based on the fact that the Shah secularized Iran and did not acknowledge or accept Allah the way that the intention should have been, and the weakness of the people in not being extreme enough in their view of Islam destroyed Iran.
Okay, so you're talking about a very interesting concept that is the core value of the whole jihadi movement.
That's right, and it's actually what drove what everybody calls the revolution.
Well, not only the revolution. Let's make this clear. Go to Al Qaeda, Osama bin Laden.
No, I know, Habibi, but what I'm saying
same idea is that we're not Muslim enough, we're not fundamental enough, and as a result of that, Allah has punished us by taking our power away.
Yeah, but that is a lot more prominent of a way of thinking amongst the Shiites than it is amongst the Sunnis, only because the Shiites have a very aggressive view with respect to the end times.
Yeah.
I should show you a speech of the Grand Mufti, the former Grand Mufti of Egypt.
The missing imam, what's his name? The hidden imam.
Oh, that's another whole the 10 imams and all that. But look, my point behind all of that is, they were very serious about this. They knew that they could get a group of people to understand and spread the idea that the reason why they're not where they're at is because of how secularized things have become. And by the way, the Shah was a bad guy.
Oh no,
it's not like he was a good guy. He was a dictator. But the thing about the Shah that made him so much better for Iran is the same thing that made Saddam Hussein the way he was,
or Gaddafi,
or Gaddafi, or not even al-Sisi. How about Mubarak?
Yeah.
In Egypt. My point is that the one thing that the Shah did that was very difficult for people to understand, and I talked about this before, I've made many videos explaining this, was the Shah was heavily secularized. His disregard for what drove the religious fundamentalism was pretty extreme. But the reason why he allowed Muslims to do what they were doing in Iran was because he knew that with his secular approach, he could get a lot of people to sympathize with the cause of what they were doing, so long as they suffice the basics.
Yeah.
And for a long time in Iran, a lot of the Muslims in Iran were nominalized religious practitioners. They weren't serious about any of what they were doing, which is why when this revolution came to play, it meant so much to so many people, and that's why Khomeini became so popular, because they felt like they could make a better Iran. And by the way, it was in the best interest of all these other countries to help the Shah be removed from Iran in their minds, because the Shah in 1979 took back the oil contract that was created in 1954, and the rest of the nations were not going to benefit from the money that came as a result of it.
Everybody except Israel. I mean, we had really, really good ties with Iran before.
Oh yeah. But see, that's the other thing that the Shah knew about Israel as it related to what was going on, because at the time that Shah strengthened his position with Israel, you keep in mind the strongest position that he took in support of Israel was just prior to the peace treaty that had happened in Egypt. And when there was a verbal agreement to the peace treaty in 1978, a lot of people believe that the agreement to that peace treaty wasn't just what happened in the 73 war, but a lot of it was because of the pressure that Iran was putting on the United States as a result of what was on the cusp of happening between Egypt. And there was a lot to contend for with the United States because of the problem of the Sinai and the problem of course, the security problem of the Sinai and the problem of what was eventually going to be known as the bigger portion of the Suez Canal.
Yeah.
So that's why it happened. So even the Americans, to a degree, I think, silently supported the idea of Khomeini coming in, but very quickly realizing they had made a terrible mistake.
Well, you know that we put the Hamas into power.
Oh, 100%.
I want to just touch one thing at the corner of that, because I think we're more or less going to have to get this tied down. Do you know that there is a pipeline that goes from Eilat to Ashdod?
Yes. And you know what's really interesting about this pipeline?
It is an oil pipeline that connects the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea that actually circumvents the Suez Canal.
100%. And by the way, if with the existence of that pipeline, if MBS does what I think he's going to do with that pipeline, the United States of America will also be a great beneficiary of it, because the United States of America will then develop the ability to utilize the Suez Canal for security reasons as opposed to shipping reasons, because the final frontier of shipping through the Suez Canal is going to be oil. That's the final frontier.
So the pipeline actually belongs to the Iranians.
Yeah.
And again, if you ever stand on the shores of the Red Sea in Eilat, literally you can see where the pipeline starts and ends up in the Mediterranean.
You were the one, by the way, that told me about this pipeline a while ago.
Exactly. And you look across the bay, there is a huge Saudi Arabia, because that's where the border of Saudi Arabia connects to the border of Israel. So there's probably about a 10-mile bay between Saudi Arabia's oil infrastructure and Israel's oil infrastructure, that if you connect the two, you've got oil flowing directly through pipes from Saudi Arabia to the Mediterranean Sea.
It's one of the big normalization carrots that's being thrown in front of Saudi right now.
Do you remember that Trump sat down with the Prime Minister of India, Modi, and they talked about this new dynamic? And I'm going to add something that I thought about. Not me. I mean, I heard about it yesterday and it kind of makes sense. I think Trump is planning on using the rubble in Gaza to build another deep water harbor on the Mediterranean.
I'm telling you, bro, I've been talking about this.
I mean, the literally buildings. It's amazing for building harbors.
I'm telling you, bro. I've been talking about this for a while, and I think that he's also going to use some of that to fill up these tunnels as well. I think he's a real estate guy, so he gets it, right? But the idea behind that harbor could also have some significant implications for security in the Mediterranean, especially if we build an American base there, and we will.
So the how do you say, the saying that I've been connecting is that Biden was playing checkers, and everybody thinks that Trump was playing chess. Trump isn't playing chess; he's playing Monopoly.
Oh, bro, you know what? I'll steal Steve Turley's words: 4D chess. He's playing a 4-dimensional chess. It's like something that like people don't understand. Trump literally, within 30 seconds, eliminated the discussion of a Palestinian state.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about Palestinian statehood anymore.
He pulled the rug out. And that's going to solve, by the way, the Palestinian problem all over the place.
Oh, are you kidding me?
So what are we praying for this week?
What isn't there to pray for, bro?
Pray for the Bebas kids.
Yeah.
Pray for the fam. Pray for Israel.
We know for sure they're dead now, right?
They would have come out as part of it. We know that they're on the list, and we know there's only 8. We know that there's 8 deceased on that list. We don't know the names, but they would have been released if, and it's part of the agreement, if they were not. Yeah.
Okay, David, go for it, brother. Let's pray.
Avinu Shebashamayim, please hold us up in your hands. The world is shifting. The currents and the waves are turning and breaking, and sometimes we feel that we don't and we can't and we will not be able to stay afloat. We know that the only way to stay afloat is to lay back and put ourselves in your hands. And I'm praying that when this terrible event takes place where these babies will be returned for burial, that you will hold Israel in your hand, hold us in your hand, bring us peace, Bring us the peace that only you can bring in these horrific times. I pray for my people. And I pray for all of us watching these events unfold, that we will give you praise and give you thanks for everything that we're seeing and hearing and everything that's being done. We just pray for these tiny little children and their families. And I just, in Jesus' name, please hold them up. Bring Jesus to our people. Please, Lord. My people need Jesus more than anything, especially now. And quickly and hopefully, in the name of your Son. Amen.
Amen and amen. And I think that was a good conversation. Took a little bit of a different term. There were a few super chats that I had missed that I just wanted to bring up really quickly. I think I already got Myra. Let me see here. No, I did not. Laquita, thank you for your super chat. Let me see. There's a few that I missed here. The tender feeling policy is actually pretty cool. Vindog, I love you, man. Thank you. Jackie Bird, thank you. And you're right. JD's speech was historic. Thank you guys for all your support. You guys are awesome. We love you. Keep fighting the good fight. There's a lot going on. Stand for righteousness, please. There's a lot happening, okay? We love you guys. God bless you.